Today it is Tuesday, April the 5th, and we have a good meeting planned today, and thankfully we have a little sunshine outside. So each day we move forward, we get much closer to the reality of a genuine spring. So is Jack out there right now?
Yes, he is.
Mr. Herrick, former district governor, former president of the Rotary Club, we'd like to ask you if you would kindly lead us in today's invocation.
Tell him he's muted.
You're muted, Jack.
There we go.
I have to finish. I'm doing the invocation, John. I can't talk now. Yes, just turn the computer off. Off. Thank you. Now, I'm sorry for the confusion. I was trying to get John Daly. Okay. Mr. President, I guess you're ready for me. I apologize for the confusion. John was having trouble getting online. It's a good time to just pause and take a moment to be quiet in our minds and reflect on the gifts of talent and time and treasure that the Creator has given each of us. Let us pray. Creator of the universe, we gather as a diverse group of men and women who have committed a portion of our lives to service. We are of varied cultures, ages, nationalities, colors, religions, beliefs, all coming together as a body of Rotarians to offer a portion of ourselves through our commitment to service above self. We commit ourselves to make the best use of your gifts in service to all mankind through our Rotary affiliation. Empower those who have been distributing our donations to the Ukrainian relief efforts with the wisdom, knowledge, perseverance to help the helpless and displaced, to know that they are loved as children of the Creator and will be supported in prayer and with needed food, shelter, and other necessities until this conflict is ended and they are reunited with their families, home, and country. Bless our speaker, Elizabeth Walters, and her fellow public servants with the gift of compromise without sacrificing their commitment to what is the best in the best interest of the governed under the Constitution of the United States and our laws. Keep our military and our allies who volunteer to defend us safe from harm. In the name of the Creator, we offer this prayer. Amen.
Amen. And thank you, Jack, for that very thorough prayer. Would you ring the bell because it's down there on the table? So it is official. But I want to take us into another short prayer here, simply because I was notified by one of you this morning that our dear Mary Weaver, her son Matthew, his health is not good at all, and he may be in the very last stages of his life. And needless to say, the amount of pressure and concern and sorrow that Mary carries, and Matthew, I believe, has been waiting for a liver transplant. And so if you join me, I'm just going to offer up a very quick prayer for him and for her. So God, we do pray for Mary. We thank you for her and the blessing that she is to us, the blessing she is to this city, the blessing she is as a mother. We pray that you, Lord God, would comfort her and walk with her in this season. We pray also for Matthew. We pray God, we know you're a miracle working God. And if it's to be a miracle in this situation, we would welcome it wholeheartedly. And if not, Lord, we ask for grace upon grace upon grace upon this family. And we ask this in your name. Amen. All right, let's do the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And our four-way test: is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? Will it be beneficial to all concerned? Thank you, and you may be seated out here. All right. Mr. Everything, Mr. David Hall is our greeter today, and he can let us know about our visitors.
Thank you, Steve. So we have one visiting Rotarian, Jack Young, former district governor. Jack, would you like to stand up and say hello?
Not,
John, how are you doing? Mr. Herrick, can you hear me?
Yes, I have a guest. I'd like to introduce him. Russ Neal, dear friend of mine and an Akron City Councilman from Ward 4.
Good afternoon, everyone.
there you go.
Good afternoon.
Try again.
Hey, Jack. Mr. Herrick,
Yes,
you know who this is, don't you?
Jack Young,
That is correct.
glad to have you. Sorry to miss you.
Good to be here. You take care.
Thank you.
Thank you. And we also have one guest that's being inducted today, Lauren Holly. Where did Lauren go to? Getting food in the back. Okay. Welcome, Lauren. That's it, Steve.
Okay, David, thank you. Thank you very much. We are privileged today to be inducting a new member. And now that Miss Julie has arrived, because it's her nomination, I would like to call, if I could, Lauren, if you would come on up as we induct you with Julie.
I could work on that for next time.
That right now?
Come on up there right now, but next time.
Be careful. I'm sure. Oh, thank you.
All right, well, this is exciting to add to our membership, and I had the opportunity to visit with you a little bit, and we're delighted to have you today. So I'd like to ask you to join me here as we just rejoice in the increase of our membership and having, another fine servant in our city. The foundation, Lauren, of Rotary is service. This dear lady knows that. She's a service animal. And our principal motto is service above self. It's the goal of this club and Rotary clubs worldwide to encourage and foster this ideal. You've been approved for membership because we believe you to be interested in upholding this ideal in spirit and in action. We have confidence that you will be a blessing and help strengthen this club. Fellow Rotarians, I ask you to freely give your friendship and your guidance to Lauren to help make her membership meaningful and enjoyable. Please accept from Miss Julie your official Rotary name badge and Rotary pen. And it has on there the Rotary wheel. The Rotary wheel is the international symbol of Rotary. Please wear it with pride. Akron Rotarians, please join me in welcoming Lauren Holly, the world's newest Rotarian. Now, we have a tradition that we invite our new members to share a little bit about themselves And so we're delighted to have you and to hear from you.
Awesome. Well, thank you. I'm super excited to be here. So a little bit about myself. I actually was part of the Fairlawn Rotary for about 8 or 9 years, was their president, I believe year 18 to 19. And so very passionate about Rotary and the service above self cause. And so excited to join the Akron Rotary and carry that through here. I actually live in Akron. I'm the executive director of the Brain Injury Association of Ohio. And so providing services all across Ohio for folks with brain injury, and live in Akron with my husband, my daughter, and my 2 kitty cats. So excited to get to know everybody and serve the community together.
Wow, not only did we get a new member, but we have an experienced Rotarian who's been the past president joining us. And so the rich, in one sense, and what we're blessed with as far as membership gets richer. So that's fantastic. Do we happen to have any Rotary ambassadors in the room over this last week? Any ambassadors here? Susan, David will bring the microphone over to you.
I had the pleasure of participating in the ICC Ukraine USA. Well, actually, it was not just USA, it was the ICC for Ukraine and all of the effort that's been put into action to help there on the war front. So we heard from the president, the current president of Rotary International, and we heard from different club leaders in all of the countries that are bordering on Ukraine, plus members of clubs in Ukraine itself. It was a really exceptional experience for me, and to see that the network that Rotary has created is there to help out in these circumstances. And, you know, it's just really refreshing to be part of that and to be able to bring that to our Akron club.
So I attended the Kent Rotary meeting last Tuesday instead of our meeting, which was very interesting. They had the university architect for Kent State University speaking. I'm an alumnus of Kent State, and great to hear what they've got planned for the campus there. So, and my coworker who sits in the office next to me is the president of the Kent Rotary. So we've got a good Rotary group going in our office there. Thank you.
Glad to see you.
All right, exciting to hear that report about Ukraine, what you shared. And the beauty of being part of the international family of Rotary and the reach and the impact that we can have and that you all have had both here and out there online is somewhat nothing short of amazing, because in 3 weeks, I think our total that was raised was somewhere near like $2,750 that was going toward the district and then heading toward Ukraine. And that is outstanding. And so right now, because my wife and I, having lived there, we're in contact with Ukraine daily. This is the challenging period. This is the challenging period. The game has shifted a little bit. And so this is going to be not a sprint, to say. It's going to be a little bit of a longer race. And I know that your hearts and our hearts are that the evil that's being poured out comes to an end. So, but onward we go. And it's, yes, Jack.
I commend you for what you're doing, because I was on a Zoom meeting with the representative of the Scouts for Ukraine about 2 weeks ago. And the Scouts have been very active in trying to help the country from around the world. And I just want to let you know that the young people truly understand the help that is needed. They're doing what they can through the Scouting group. Of course, I'm chair of the Fellowship of Scotland Rotarians in North Central South America, so just wanted to let you know that.
Fantastic, glad to hear that. And let me say this, and Julie actually served in Ukraine right around the same time we did. But were you in college at the time, Julie, when you did that? Okay. So we got a lot of connections here from this club with the country of Ukraine. But here's what I would like you to know. Since 1991, that country has been on its way down the pathway of freedom. And they have been able to drink deeply of what that looks like. This is why you're seeing the opposition and the success that they've had, because they've tasted some of what you and I have been blessed with for generations. And they do not want to go back. And so this is an important battle as it would pertain not just to that part of the world, but you can think about China, you can think about North Korea, and this can be a really good outcome with freedom being heralded throughout the world. So good stuff. So now it's time for happy dollars. Is anybody happy today? David?
Steve, I have 5 happy dollars. 3 of them are for my 3 kids. They're all doing very well. They're healthy. My son Steven is in Chicago, looking to transition to a new job this week. My oldest daughter is looking to become a traveling nurse and has a contract in Seattle, of all places.
Nice.
And my youngest is still doing well down in Florida and playing soccer. So happy for the 3 of them. My 4th dollar is I'm always looking for new breeders and indicators. So if you have interest, please see me or go out on the website and take a look. I have a website out there and can walk you through that. And the last one, I'm just happy. So who else is happy? Sandy?
I have 5 happy dollars. I'm officially retired. This is my 3rd day. Getting used to it. We leave on our 7-week trip next week, so very happy.
Congratulations, Sandy. Jack?
I have $5 as well. One is for Jack Herrick, who actually visited me when I was up in the Conneaut Rotary Club. And it's good to hear his voice. I see him occasionally a picture, but at least it's good to hear his voice. And the other 4 is just to the memory of those who are giving their lives for our country and helping us to remain free and helping others at the same time.
Thank you. Thane?
Hey, good afternoon, everyone. I have 2 happy dollars. The first is for our friend Claudine Schooley. Do many of you remember Claudine?
Yeah.
So phenomenal Rotarian. And if you remember, our club supported her before the Ukrainian conflict in a fundraiser to purchase wheelchairs for the Ukraine. And if you remember, I believe there were some district funds as well that were to be used towards that project. I ran into Claudine last week. She works over at Westminster Presbyterian Church. She is working with the higher ups within Rotary to have emergency authorization to release those funds now. So she wanted to let you guys know those monies will be going to a good use. And then quickly, a second happy dollar is on behalf of our camp staff, public service announcement coming up Saturday, April 30th. We're going to have our annual spring cleanup at the camp. I know when I came into the club about 5 years ago, it took me about 18 months to actually get out to camp and volunteer. So anyone who's a newer member of the club, as our seasoned veterans, if you want to join me April 30th, we'll make it into a fun day. Saturday, April 30th, cleaning up the camp, getting ready for the kids. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you, Thane. Steve Ozark?
I have 2 happy dollars because it's the best week of the year. It's Masters Week, which always makes me happy. And it looks like Tiger might play.
And you've been, right? You've been down there for that.
I have couple 9 years ago now. But if you ever get a chance to go, even if you don't like golf. And I'm going to multiply my $2 by 100 and give $200 because I forgot my raffle tickets never arrived at camp. So I sent the check and everything, but they never got it. So I'll make good on that and make sure I get my $200 over to the camp for my raffle tickets.
Thank you, Steve. Julie?
I have $10, I'll mail it to Mela. She's used to getting my checks in the mail. I have, of course, happy dollars to welcome Lauren into our club. I'm just so excited about this because, as you heard, she's a past president of the Fairlawn Club, and she has such a heart for Rotary. And I know we've been working on this for quite some time, so I'm glad she's finally here. And second of all, I just wanted to let you know that the other day I registered for a district conference for the Rotary District 6630. The conference registration is live online. And so I hope that you will be able to join us for part or all of that weekend, April 22nd through and 23rd. So just please look online for that, district6630.org. Thanks.
Absolutely.
So one happy dollar, because I'm super excited to be an official member of the club and be part of the group. And another happy dollar because my daughter gets to compete in states this weekend for gymnastics. So excited to see that.
Congratulations, that's fantastic. Anybody else happy here in the room? Steve, do you see anybody online, Dan?
Not yet. Oh, Jack.
Jack is.
All right, Jack, Harrod, go ahead.
I've got 5 happy dollars for a unique program. I was online last week with the Rotary Club of Freshwater Bay, Australia. And they are in the process of starting an Interact or a Rotaract club with one of the indigenous tribes of Australia. And their big challenge is translating the Rotary effort into language that fits in the language of the indigenous people.
Very good, thank you, Jack. Steve, you look like you're happy. Oh, Dan, anybody else online?
Nope. Not that I
Yes,
see.
thank you, David. I have 3 happy dollars. The first is for our newest member, Lauren, today. I'm delighted that she's part of this. Secondly, I'm rejoicing for Sandy. Sandy, in all those years of working hard, and she was a past president, I think, a little 5 years ago, roughly. Okay, 2016. She is a worker and continues to work faithfully for this club. And I know with all that she did in her job, she was busy. So I am happy for you that you get some time for this next stage of whatever lies ahead for you. So enjoy. And then the last dollar is for this man right here, who's handling our audiovisual today. Dan just returned from a week's vacation, and we were just chit-chatting. I believe he said somewhere 4 to 5 weeks, 5 weeks of vacation a year, but only normally takes about a week. So what does that say? It says he works his chops off, and he does it year in and year off. And you know, for him, hey, let's be honest, we're all workers. We're all very much involved in what we do. We're involved in the community, but rest and restoration is really needful. So may your days ahead be guided by that balance, because of all the great work that you do on behalf of the club, on behalf of camp, on behalf of the kids. So I hope it was refreshing.
It was great. Thank you.
Thank you. A couple of announcements I have to make, and then if anyone online or anyone in the room has an announcement. Julie, thank you for making mention of the district meeting. And what I wanted to share is that 2 weeks from today, we will not be meeting here at Bounce Innovation Hub. There will be no Tuesday meeting. We have switched it to Cuyahoga Falls for the district meeting at noon out there. Is that the Marriott? Sheraton Suites in downtown Cuyahoga Falls. Really nice place. And so please do, if you haven't yet and you want to come to the meeting, go online. Miss Julie.
Get a mic. Get a mic.
Here comes the microphone.
Do not underestimate the registration process. This luncheon will sell out. It does every single year. So if you want to come to that luncheon, please register right away.
And if you've never experienced one of those yet, they're really, it'll open up your vision as to the breadth and depth of Rotary. And we're fortunate we have a very, very good district. And Linda, who has been heavily involved, as Julie, Jack, all of the other district governors, we're fortunate. Northeast Ohio is happy. So if you have a desire to be there, follow up with what Julie said and go in and get your registration done so that you don't miss out on lunch. That will be on the 22nd. And then again, there's a day of activities on the 23rd as well. This is going to be a busy month because next Tuesday through next Thursday, the 12th through the 14th, we are involved with Be the Match, which is the bone marrow transplant donor base that is actually, it's worldwide, but in particular here in the US. We're looking to be involved, and we're very much involved as a club with Rotaract, with 100 Black men, with the athletes from the University of Akron and student council over there. So on the 12th, we're going to be meeting at the Polsky building, which the university owns, from 10 to 3. And they're going to be taking swabs, mouth swabs. And a person needs to be, if they're going to go into the registry, between the ages of 18 and 40. And they can stay on in that registry as an active donor up until, I think, 65. But 18 to 40 is a sweet spot for someone to become part of the bank. On Wednesday, the 13th, from 10 to 3, we're going to be meeting at the JAR, the James A. Rhodes Arena, from 10 to 3. And then on Thursday, it's going to be in the Student Center from 10 to 3 near the Piano Lounge. And so I would strongly recommend that, I believe that Doug Hoskinick has set up online, and if not, it'll be done by the end of the day, a sign-up sheet if you want to come and be there to help out for an hour or two. But this is a major event, and it's a major event from the standpoint that the discrepancy of what's available for families that need help, if they need a match and they have a blood cancer, the white population is blessed with about an 80% chance of a match. And then as you come down those numbers, it's in the 60% for American India, I think 59th percentile for Asian and Polynesian. And when you get down to the Black population, it's down to 22%. And so we're looking to be part of the answer. We're looking to save lives. And here's the good news. You hear bone marrow transplant. Immediately you think, oh my gosh, that's going to be a very invasive surgery. Nope. They have so worked the technology that now it is a blood. They take blood, they cycle it through a machine, they take what they need. There's no pain other than the prick in the arm. And it comes back in, and within an hour or an hour and a half, you're out and on your way home. So we're talking about lives, and what a wonderful way for us to participate. And by the way, what I'm talking about came as a courtesy of the Mentor Rotary Club, because they've done Be the Match a couple times and they've had really fantastic turnouts. And so this is another example of the connection of like the Rotary Wheel, and we are recipients now, and the city has owned it. We did an interview on Summit Radio through Laura Smiley last week, and I believe that Michael Scherer, who's the editor of the Beacon Journal, said that we'll be having, I think tomorrow, there'll be an article online about what we're doing, and then on Thursday it should appear in print. So this is a big deal, and let's do it. Let's work our Rotary magic, and let's get out there and try and save some lives. But 10 to 3, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. So lastly, with this being such a busy month, we've got an event that's going to be coming up. It's not going to be club-wide, but I do want you to know that as we've been building such a good synergy with our club with the camp, with the foundation, that on April 20th, is that
Yes, sir.
April 20th, which is a Wednesday, out at the camp, we are hosting a group of parents and children from the LeBron James I Promise Family Foundation that reside in their apartment building on South Road. It's called The Village. And the parents are coming out for dinner. The kids are coming out for dinner and some activities. And this is our initial handshake in wanting to build relationship and provide an opportunity for these kids, and many of them have never had the opportunity to experience what they'll experience at camp. And so this is a good handshake. This is a good beginning. And I know that Dan and his team have been very busy and working on this. And they're already thinking and looking at how could they possibly even help some of these kids with camp during the summer. And so lots of good things happening. April's going to be busy. And then my last announcement before any of you may have an announcement, May the 11th, the Foundation Board, the Rotary Camp Board, the Rotary Club Board, we're all meeting that afternoon at the camp for all boards coming together and taking what we've been able to build relationally to the next level. Because we have something pretty special here. And one of our foundation members, in describing what we have with the camp, aptly described it. He said, the camp is a white unicorn. And it's so incredibly unique. You're not going to find anything like this camp in Rotary throughout the country. Now, having said that, and the synergy that's been building, I think we have, and I think it's part of Akron's history, I think we have the DNA that this thing could be, or something similar could be reproduced in other cities throughout the country and really give Rotary clubs and communities a vision for what it can be. So there's a lot of good stuff coming. Busy month, April, the board meeting in May, and then hopefully by then we'll be relishing in some good weather. And by the way, also in May, we're going to have a little trip. We're going into Kenmore, and we're going to the Rialto Theater. We're going to have our lunch there, and we're going to have our meeting there with Tina Boyce and the Kenmore CDC, Community Development Corporation. So lots of fun stuff planned as we move ahead. So that's enough of me, and I want to see if we have any other announcements from any of you or anybody online.
Not yet.
Hey, Steve,
Sir.
just want to remind everybody to register for the scholarship event as well on April 25th. The registrations are coming in slow. Thanks.
Thank you, Terry. All right. Well, if we have no more announcements, it's my privilege to introduce today's, oh, Susan, you have an announcement? Someone, do we have a microphone over that way?
Sorry, I just got this, and it is from Claudine Schooley. It's the announcement that the MBR has finalized a new partnership supplying high priority medical supplies to frontline fighters in Ukraine. And so I will send the information about this, but this is, urgently needed materials, medical supplies. So I'll send this to you, Steve, and you can share it with the club.
Thank you. Thank you. Anyone else for announcements today? All right. Well, it is my privilege to introduce today's speaker, Elizabeth Walters. And she is a council president, council member at large. And is it okay if I call you Liz? Okay. Liz is serving her second term representing the citizens of Summit County as an at-large member. She's been active on a wide variety of issues and working in partnership with her colleagues and she's helped to navigate Summit County through the challenges of the last few years. She works hard to ensure a strong economy, support our communities and families, and to innovate for a brighter future. In 2022, she was unanimously elected by her colleagues from both parties to serve a second term as council president. She's a lifer, Girl Scout, and she's been active with the organization as a member, an employee, or a volunteer since the age of 5. Wow. Earning their illustrious Women of Distinction Award in 2020. She serves on the advisory council for the United Way of Summit County's Financial Empowerment Center. And she is homegrown. She's a native to Northeast Ohio, a proud member, I found this to be fascinating, of a large and loud Irish Catholic family who traces its local roots to the economic opportunity Firestone Tire and Rubber. She was taught the value of service by her family, especially her mother, a career-long nurse, and she and her rescue dog, Beatrice, B, live on the west side of Akron, and they enjoy walks throughout Summit's vast array of parks. So welcome, we're delighted to have you, and we look forward to hearing what you have to share with us.
Thank you so much. Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for having me, and what a view for those of you watching on the camera. This is the first time I've ever seen this setup, but it's so great. Thanks for making it possible for people to join remotely. Thank you, Steve, for that introduction. And I also want to give a special thank you to Rotary Director Katie Miller, who invited me here today, and who she and her husband Tim are great friends and also great community servants as well. I'm honored to join you. My name is Liz Walters, and I am proud to serve as the president of Summit County Council and as an at-large member. I also want to acknowledge my colleagues in elected service, Judge Michael and Councilman Neal, who I saw were joining us on the Zoom today. I have been on council since 2016 and kind of was appointed to an open seat, and I ran to keep the seat and was elected since 2 times. And I'm very much been an honor and a privilege and a real joy to serve the citizens of Summit County in this role. Though, to be honest, and I'm sure this won't shock you, I didn't grow up thinking to myself, gee, I want to be a county elected official when I grow up, right? It's not something you hear very often from kids. But my journey to elected office and to public service, like many leaders in our community, elected or otherwise, started because of a very personal journey. As Steve mentioned in my bio, I come from a very loud, sometimes crazy, but in the most loving way, Irish Catholic family. My mom's the oldest of 7 girls. And as my grandfather, my mom was a single mom. We grew up in a multi-generational household with both of my grandparents. And when I was a senior in college, my granddad was going through cancer for the 2nd time and decided that he wanted to go out on his own terms. And so decided to stay home. My mom committed to caring for him at home as the family nurse. And very quickly, like many families in our community, medical expenses really spun out of control. The cost of caring for people at the end of life is still a very big burden for many families. And so my last semester of college, I watched as my mom navigated a medical bankruptcy. And it really profoundly changed my life and shaped my perspective on the importance of good policy and the effects that not so great policy can have on people who kind of do everything right, work hard, but something happens in their personal life that is just a little hard to overcome. Folks who live paycheck to paycheck and have a hard time making ends meet when the unexpected happens. And so through that experience, my eyes opened to the important work of getting involved in politics, believe it or not. And sometimes that is used as a dirty word, but it is a lot. There's a lot of really great things that we can do when we commit ourselves to that work for a just cause. I truly believe that government can be a force for good, that in certain parts of our civic life, it is a necessary force that holds our communities together, that moves us forward together as the future unfolds and helps to provide some stability and uncertainty. And so as I began my elected journey in 2016, I really have tried to focus as a public servant and as a leader on how we live that idea out through county government. And I, along with my colleagues on council, we're the legislative body of the county. We also have the county prosecutor, the county executive, the fiscal officer, engineer, clerk of courts, sheriff, and our courts. We make up the leadership of Summit County. By the numbers, we represent over 540,000 residents here in Summit County. It's 31 townships, villages, and cities. We have an annual operating budget of almost $500 million and a staff of over 2,000, as well as 12 departments and 46 boards and commissions. We are a bit of a behemoth. We are the 4th largest county in the state. But before I dive into more of what that means and what we've been working on, let me start by letting you in on a little secret, which is that county government is not very sexy. We perhaps are the least flashy form of government. And that's really the way you want it to be. County government at its best is very invisible and very silent. It's rare that you see headlines that read, county employee stops sewer overflow at 2 a.m. and saves our water source, or that county employee collected child support on time and made sure that mom and kids had what they needed. Unfortunately, you really only see us when we're having a bad day or when something goes horribly wrong, when public money is misspent or when a resident fails to receive necessary services, or in really horrific times like when we lose a life at the jail of someone who's in our care and custody. So as a county, really, it's very rare for folks to understand the full depth and breadth of all the services we provide. But simply, we're the administrative arm of the state, right? We're here to administer everything from social safety net programs to building sewers and roads to making sure that the animal control facility is run in the ways according to public law. But here in Summit County, we're actually a little unique compared to our other Ohio colleagues. We are what is called an executive form of government. Traditionally, in 86 of the counties, what you see is a commission form of government, where you have 3 commissioners who oversee the entire county. We first established this new model in 1979. We were the first and for a long time the only county that operated that way. And we made that switch as after a call from residents to becoming more transparent, more accountable, more cooperative body. And I think we've really succeeded in that effort. Summit County continues to be ranked as one of the most, if not the most, fiscally healthy counties in Ohio. And we also do that with the smallest sales tax rate of any of the 88 counties. Ours is at 5%. And to give you a snapshot, Cuyahoga County is at 8.75. So we operate on a much thinner margin and much more efficiently. On council, as Steve mentioned, we have focused on supporting a strong economy, making sure that we're supporting communities and families and trying to be an innovative leader for the things our community needs in the future. Our unique structure as a home rule county allows us a little more leeway or runway to deliver services in the present, but also to vision for the future and to react in moments of crisis, especially like those we've seen in the last few years, particularly surviving COVID and the pandemic and what that's done to the community. We are really kind of the last stop for all that federal and state pass-through dollars, all those big federal programs you saw, like county government's where it all comes together. So whether it was ARPA relief dollars, COVID relief dollars, the Infrastructure Investment Act that passed through Congress last year, eventually their end point is oftentimes county government. And we're responsible for administering that either in programs that already exist by increasing services, or with a little bit of like, here's some dollars, can you guys put this to best use in your community? So to give you a quick snapshot of what that's looked like in Summit County over the last 2 years, we have done $12 million in direct grant funding to over 3,000 small businesses to help them weather the strain of COVID. We have done direct grant making to all 17 public school districts in Ohio to help them create distance learning supports, provide support and training for employees, and provide the necessary PPE for them to continue operating their buildings. We have helped over 7,000 families with over $20 million in direct grant funding to help keep utilities turned on, help them make their rent or mortgage payment as many faced job loss during the pandemic. And we spent really important money, $17 million in direct support for police and fire in all of our 31 communities to support first responders. And then I think the most way we've been able to be really innovative, for example, was prioritizing the connection equipment that many of our seniors needed across the county to stay connected to friends and loved ones during isolation periods. So we provided laptops and hotspots so that we can ease loneliness and all the things that may come along with isolation. But that's the moment of crisis, right? Those are some top line examples of what we did during COVID with those extra resources that were allocated to the state and to the federal government. I think you can also be really proud of the work our county does generally, even in normal times, I guess is what we call them now, to be innovative and to be leaders. So a great example of one of the projects we're working on now is creating a countywide broadband municipal utility. We have been frustrated as a county and how difficult it's been to get broadband access into all 31 of our communities. In many parts of the county, you still have to use dial-up internet, believe it or not, right? There is no broadband cable in communities like Lakemore or Mogador. Or for that matter, having a reliable, affordable internet provider in places like wards 3, 4, and 5 in Akron. And so with the help of federal partnership and with the county and the state, we are using some investment dollars to essentially build a utility. We're creating a broadband company that's going to provide service at a much lower rate and be self-sustaining over time. We've been able to do things like create a really important policy to support a strong workforce. So we passed paid parental leave for both the men and the women who work for the county. We're the only county in Ohio to provide that paid time off on the birth or adoption of a new child. We were a leader in the national fight against the opiate companies, but literally us in Cuyahoga County were the first counties to lead the legal battle against opiate companies and won a massive settlement that we're going to use to fund drug treatment in Summit County for years to come through an endowment. Or we've been able to provide special support for our veterans by helping to fund the Summit County Stand Down Against Veterans every year, or to put some important infrastructure dollars into helping start the first female veterans homeless shelter in Summit County just this past year. So that's a very short list on a very big organization of some of the things we've been focused on. But when I talked with Katie about coming today, one of the things she asked me to really talk about in more detail, and I want to make sure I stop with time for questions too, is some of the other ways that the county can be a convener and a leader in topics that can be very challenging for us to face as a community. And that leads me to our racism as a public health crisis initiative that we've been working on since the spring of 2020. In the spring of 2020, following the murder of George Floyd, I think all of us, regardless of what our perspectives were on that moment, went through a lot of a journey, right, of watching that coverage play out, watching the ensuing reactions across the country and across the world, and really asked ourselves, what are we called to do in this moment? How can we help bring people together? How can we help to make meaningful change and to make our communities stronger and, more importantly, safer for our Black and Brown neighbors? With the leadership of my colleague, Councilwoman Veronica Sims, Summit County declared racism as a public health crisis as a way to start the work. And so one of the things that's really important to understand is that when we declare something a public health crisis, really what that does, it's more of a technical move than it is a definitive response to a problem. By declaring something a public health crisis, it enables us to allocate budgetary resources towards it, to have programmatic decisions about how we can work on this issue moving forward. So this was a really important step for us to undertake. As you can imagine, it was not an easy task. Or frankly, an easy discussion. It never is. When addressing the matter of historic and systemic racism, individuals can start from very different points of understanding and very different points of buy-in. From the beginning, we had a few very long, difficult conversations with all of our kind of internal partners on county council and my colleagues to try and understand where are we starting this work from. And we landed on a few key points that I think are important to share before I get into any of the technical stuff in the report that you all have, which is that this effort at the county has to be a way to call people in, not to call people out. We can't go through this and do this work meaningfully if we create a space where people don't feel welcomed, where we can't have an honest discussion, and we can't create an environment of safe learning. No one, or at very least the majority of people, don't come into work every day thinking, today I'm going to uphold racist structures for the day. Like, that's not a thing that most people think. We live in a world that was largely built before us, that we've inherited. And so there's really no one at fault, right? This isn't anybody's fault, but it is our responsibility, particularly those of us in public service, to lead by example and to come to this work with a true commitment to ourselves to make real and impactful change for the community. But that then begs the question, well, what does that mean? What does real and impactful change in battling systemic racism really mean? And the first thing that we really acknowledged as we kind of looked around, because we didn't do this in a bubble. There was a lot of communities grappling with this in the wake of George Floyd's murder, is that we have to get our own house in order before we can work with others or work within systems or make systemic change. So we can't go about asking other people to change if we're not willing to do that work ourselves. And so we really wanted to start internally and do as much work as we could to help Summit County as an organization become the most transparent, effective, inclusive, and equitable space it could be, whether that's in how we spend our dollars, about who's getting contracts, and making sure that everyone has equal opportunity to be a part of the economic development journey that is Summit County. To make sure that as an employer, we're creating a diverse and equitable workplace. All of those things are important. But we also have to be very clear-eyed about the limits of government, right? Government has limits, and it should, right? There's only so much that we can do in anti-racism work. That ultimately is a struggle for hearts and minds. And that's really a limit for government, right? We can't vaccinate racism, we can't tax it, we can't write a whole string of policies and magically it's gone. What we have to focus on are the things we can control, which is really trying to be deliberate about tearing down structures or processes that have enabled racist behavior in our organizations. So with this work in mind, we began, and myself and my colleague Veronica began in July of 2020 with a series of interviews and surveys of all of our county office holders, all of our boards and commissions, and all of our departments. And that, with the number of things I just listed to you at the beginning of this, took quite a while. It took us about 7 months to complete. And then we really quickly realized that we were reaching the end of our ability to do this on our own. We had compiled all those findings into a report, and the number one finding in our report is we need somebody who knows what they're doing here, right? We have all the good intentions possible, but by training, neither of us are really designed to be systems change folks. And so we brought in an organization called UPD, which is a Baltimore consulting firm who has done extensive work with counties all over the country, not just in racism work, but also in transforming school systems, transforming service delivery, and they've been an incredible partner. So what you have in front of you is the latest report that we issued as a result of the help of their work on phase 2, which is to come in and really do a deep dive and a really deliberate learning process in the county. We did staff surveys, we did focus groups, we did external surveys. So we talked to people who were contractors with us, people who had bid for work, the whole 9 yards. And what we really had to do and commit ourselves to being was being transparent, right? A little sunshine is good for everything, right? Everything that the government does needs to have a little bit of scrutiny. And so we never could really claim to be committed to change if we weren't really to acknowledge all the ways we had to call ourselves to that work. So what we really tried to break down here was that we were looking at the community of the county, how inclusive our organization is, our commitment, the values that we say we believe in and what we stand for, our culture, which is actually what reflects whether or not we're living out our commitments, and then the climate, the outcomes we achieve over time in this work. And what we learned is that we have some work to do, right? And we put those findings in this report. We've learned that power is often isolated and too few feel like they have the ability to climb the ladder at the employment in the county. We learned that bidding on county contracts is often difficult, and for many contractors of color, completely being left out because of the rigorous system that we have in place to vet contractors. And so, and there's a whole list of findings in there that I won't go through page by page with you. But then now what calls us to is our phase 3, which we're working on now. We actually had a meeting this morning where we're setting rigorous goals for ourselves to hold ourselves accountable. So a great example of that is we look ahead is how do we change the ability for minority business owners to do business with the county? And part of that's going to be us establishing a process by which we help women-owned businesses, minority-owned businesses, understand how county contracting works, right? There's no class for that. And so we have to go out and proactively educate if we're going to be really serious about changing how we provide our contracts. So all of these things exist, right, within a place that are influenced by societal systems, and they can advantage others and disadvantage some. And so the real work for us in the next phase is to set real goals for the county that we hold ourselves accountable to over time, that help us to make sure that everyone has the advantage, that everyone has equal access to opportunity, whether as how the county works as an employer, how the county functions as a business developer, as a purchaser, all of those pieces. And then the last thing I'll leave you with here, which I hope everyone can take to heart, is that we also come to this knowing it's journey work. There's no real perfect ending. It's something that we have to commit ourselves to constantly as humans, as a group of people who care, as a county entity, that always be reflective and learning about how we can be more equitable and more inclusive will be really the key to making Summit County a great place to work, live, and play for many decades to come. And I wanted to stop and leave time for questions, so happy to pause here.
Great, thank you. Do we have any questions here in the room? Dan, anybody online?
Not yet,
Nothing in the chat room?
not yet. Looking.
Okay. Wait,
There's some,
how does the county council interact with
It's what I would say that we're friends, right? We don't, depending on the entities, to get on the technical side, right? The city of Akron, Barberton, Cuyahoga Falls, they're all home rule communities. So they have great jurisdiction over themselves. County council really kind of interfaces in villages and townships in a more deep way, right? Where there is not a home rule community, county government takes precedent. So our friends at the Akron City Council are folks that we consult with, that we talk with, but we don't necessarily, we can do our work separately, if that makes sense.
Very good. Sandy, any question?
So thank you for sharing the report. So many of us in our organizations are tackling DEI in ways different than we ever have. Is the report out there? Like, could organizations, would we get that from the county website?
Yeah, you can go to the county council website, and it's on there, and then WKSU has it on their website as well.
Steve Bozart.
Is there one thing in this report that kind of jumped out at you that said, holy mackerel, we've got to do something with this particular?
Like one thing, it's hard to pick one thing. I'll tell you two things if I can, which is the first is that I think, particularly because the county has such a strong structured, any public entity, right? We have civil service. And so this notion that there was structural barriers in a civil service program where it's all supposed to be based on merit was really eye-opening to me. And it's something we see both in the data, but also in the kind of focus group feedback of we have more employees of color leave the county. And it's not about promotion or otherwise, they leave before they even get the chance because of cultural struggle. So I think that was super eye-opening for me. Because I think we make a lot of assumptions that if you have certain structures in place, fairness is just baked in, and that's not always the case. But I think secondarily, as an entity, we collect tons of data, both by federal and state mandate, and because we have to report. But that doesn't always mean we're collecting the right data to help us inform how we do our jobs better. And so I think as the one thing that I've seen from this, which we're already tackling through another initiative, is we have got to get better wholesale across the county at collecting data. I'm a kind of old school management type that says if you can't measure it, you can't manage it. And so we have a lot of work to do on improving what we're learning about ourselves.
Same Bill.
Liz, just wanted to thank you for everything you do on the county level. I have a question though about utilities, and I think you had mentioned Was it fiber optic cable?
Mhm.
So could you explain the rationale to why the county government would provide that service versus allowing private enterprises to provide that service in a free market economy?
Sure, so we're not gonna supplant private providers, right? Private providers will still be there. We're doing two things, which is one, we can't get the private providers to lay the fiber optic cable, right? So because they won't do it, because they don't see a return on their investment to providing high-speed internet to rural communities or to inner city communities. So a little bit of a problem with their business model for us on that front. So we're gonna lay it. Their private enterprise will still be able to go and compete for customer business. The utility we're starting will actually be what we like a public-private partnership where we build what's called a COG, a Council of Governments, where folks who want to buy in, we collectively, it's a way that we kind of take the proceeds where the utility is administered by a private entity, but the proceeds go into maintaining the equipment over time, so making sure the fiber optic cable stays good, that the server center was on. So private companies will still be able to try to compete for customer service. I just think that we'll provide it at a cheaper rate.
That's almost like a public works project.
Yeah, essentially, it'd be like, the next closest example, which is a little different, but like Cleveland Public Power, which has lots of storied history, but any folks out in Cuyahoga County can get power from First Energy, but like you can also get Cleveland Public Power, and typically they generate and provide it at a cheaper rate for folks.
Okay, I think we have time for one more question. If you have time to stick
Yeah,
around
sure.
after, we'll continue the questions.
Yeah, I was just thumbing through the report that's in front of me.
Yeah.
And I don't see much about health and racism connected with health. It looks like all economic opportunity. Could you explain that?
Sure. So I think there's been a lot of research done over the last decade that talk about the social determinants of health, that there is your physical health, but so much of our physical health is determined by the physical environment in which we live. And so when I say that we had to clean up our house internally, part of the work here was that health for us is a broader term than just one individual's physical indicators of health. It's also about looking at the community in which they live and whether there are impacts of racism that affect their bodily health, their economic health, their mental health, all of that stuff. And so this is really, I think, the important piece, right? This is our starting point. This is a very long journey that goes in many, many directions.
Super, we're gonna wrap up.
Sure.
If you don't mind, then if you can stay a little bit after. If you can do one other favor for me, and pull a raffle winner for me.
This is really unfair to me.
Gonna make one person happy.
Read the number?
Yes, please.
Okay, 228062.
Somebody who bought it just before me. Good call.
All right.
All right, Doug gets the daily pot and he gets to look for the joker for the progressive pot.
Thank you.
He drew Queen of Diamonds. So the joker's still there. You get to keep that. Steve?
All right, thank you, David. Liz, thank you for that outstanding presentation. And what's refreshing and always encouraging is when someone embodies what they believe in. And that was clearly evident in what you shared with us. And as I said to Mela back there, layman's terms, which was really good. So thank you so much. And I do agree, it's a journey, it's not a destination. And this city is really on a very, very good journey. So we really appreciate all that fine work that's being done. Lastly, two things. Remember, no meeting here 2 weeks from today. District meeting out there at the Sheridan Suites in Cuyahoga Falls. And as Julie encouraged us, register because that lunch will sell out. Secondly, please do continue to keep in your prayers Mary Weaver and her son Matthew. So for anybody that wants to stay online and has a question, anybody in the room that has a question, if you hang tight, we'll get to those and Liz will answer those. But in the meantime, if you can ring the bell, everybody have a good week.